Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Starting off locally here in Trinidad and Tobago, the Ministry of Homeland Security has advised that Minister Roger Alexander has revoked the preventive detention orders issued in the respect of Dominic Hadeed and Genevieve Hadeed. The decision follows a comprehensive review of all relevant legal, medical, and public interest considerations, including the recommendation of the Constitution Review Tribunal and ongoing assessments conducted under the Emergency Powers Regulation 2026. A statement by the ministry said, all of a sudden he has seen the light. Oh, wow. Yeah. Up to a couple days ago, Roger Alexander wanted the tribunal to start the process all over again. What happened? What happened? How come all of a sudden you realize it's not making sense anymore? Miss me with that, man. Somebody in authority decided to tell you, listen, enough. Enough is enough. Stop it now. That's what I believe. I wouldn't say who. While the preventive detention orders have been revoked, the criminal investigation into the alleged plot to assassinate the Prime Minister and senior members of government remains active. Nobody have a problem with you all having investigations. You just cannot lock up people without charging them for a long space of time. Simple as that. You investigate what you want. Nobody have a problem with that. I know that's just propaganda though, but nobody have a problem with that. You investigate them, man. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, together with local and listen to this part that I don't believe at all. International, my foot. Your evidence, your so-called evidence, or your two persons of interest. When they disclose who are the persons of interest, some person who does donate or something like that, some charity person, and the driver of Genevieve Hadeed were the persons of interest. That fell apart. And yet you think the Americans or whoever, the international bodies, will come and be part of this puppy show? I don't believe that. I believe that's a lie. If it's true, then fine. I don't believe it. I'm going to read it for you all. So the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, together with local and international law enforcement partners, continues its investigations, and appropriate measures remain in place to safeguard public safety. You should have put those measures in place from the very beginning if you believe there was a threat. It was simple as that. It was just to increase your security detail. That is all. That is all you needed to do. You cannot go and lock up people if you don't have evidence. Simple. You stick with your rumors. Don't follow rumors. You ever heard that long time, sir? Now, well, it look like the UNC just love to follow you. Rumors just like the PNM. Information obtained online, people. This is what I want the UNC fanatics to listen to, okay? How the law evaluates intelligence, which is basically just rumors, versus evidence. Under emergency powers and public law, there's a strict legal distinction between police intelligence and admissible evidence. And this is what Gary Griffith, a very intelligent man, has been trying to explain to the UNC-based supporters right about now. They continue to misunderstand. They continue to, I don't know whether it's deliberately or not. They will continue to be unable to differentiate between intelligence and, which could be politically motivated, and actual evidence, credible evidence. So the sufficiency threshold. The preventive detention order allows the state to detain someone based on suspicion or intelligence. However, to maintain that detention before a review tribunal, the state must show that the information is credible, specific, and demonstrates an ongoing active threat to public safety. You see, the initial process, you can do it however you want. When it's challenged, just like with the courts, just like with the lower court and the Court of Appeal, both courts criticized the state for lacking evidence to verify their claims. And yet these UNC hypocrites are saying, oh, this was never about evidence. It was never about evidence. You really think the tribunal will have ruled to free these people if there was actual significant evidence? Not intelligence. We're not talking about rumors. We're not talking about hearsay talk. We are talking about evidence. The burden of proof. When a tribunal reviews a PDO, the burden is on the state to justify depriving a citizen of their liberty. If the state's intelligence consists of vague assertions, rumors, as I said, rumors are spreading, that's another old school song, or unverified reports without factual particulars, it fails to meet the legal standard of necessity. My dear UNC scholars outside there, go online and ask AI for yourselves. The tribunal's verdict, by ruling that the Hadeeds' continued detention was not necessary or expedient, the tribunal legally determined that the state failed to discharge its burden, even though they did not give specific explanations and reasons, people. It is common sense that will tell you that there must have been a valid reason for them deciding, no, let go the people. And the common sense reason, the most obvious reason is because just like what the judges said in both the lower court and the appeals court, that there was insufficient evidence to carry this case forward. No matter carry the case, because it's not a legal case. So the UNC people said, but this is not a legal case. Yeah, we understand that. But to keep the people detained. It is just like when you carry information, intelligence, or information for DPP, and the DPP say, no, go back with that. Until you can bring me real evidence, I cannot charge these people. That's the same thing. You cannot continue to hold people, detain people without evidence. That is what the tribunal most likely meant, right? That is probably their reason, even though they didn't come out and say it. I don't know why they didn't come out and say it. Make an official statement now, members of the tribunal. Getting back to the report there. Well, the information I got online. In the eyes of the law, if the state had solid, credible proof of a threat, the detention would be deemed necessary. Duh, it's common sense, people. And I'm talking about UNC people that are supposed to be well educated. These rich, bright scholars. Yeah. Real brilliant people. You know, university level people. And they just don't understand these normal basic things. Failing to show that necessity means the underlying justification lacked the required substance. In other words, there was not evidence. My response, people. Multi-million-dollar lawsuit will be coming to a court near you, me and you and I, in the future. This is what the waste of taxpayers' dollars TTPS and ministers should have done in the first place, which is continue their investigation. And if you could have taken them into for questioning, no, people, nothing would have been wrong with that. I don't even think the Hadeeds would have had a problem with being taken in for questioning and released the same night, go home, and if it is, we may need to question you again in the future if we get any more evidence. You understand what I'm showing you? That's what you're supposed to do. Gather up your information and your evidence first, and then go ahead and arrest and then press charges or whatsoever. I'm telling you, this whole PDO thing, and it's what Gary Griffith tried to warn people about. This PDO law is messed up in the first place because it takes away from the constitutional rights of citizens to have a trial in court in order to be detained for a long space of time. This nonsense needs to stop. Gary Griffith is advocating for this PDO law to be changed. It really does. It really does. Because it violates the constitutional rights of citizens to a fair trial. If you were given intelligence from an agency about a potential plot to murder government officials, you should have conducted a thorough investigation. And if credible evidence was gathered, then you could have arrested the suspects and charged them. A month later, and no charges. And the UNC fanatics outside there saying, oh, it's sensitive information that cannot be disclosed to the public, and blah, 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 blah. How come that sensitive, significant information that has now led to a wider investigation, international investigation, and yet these people can't be charged? You're taking me and other people for fools, UNC people right about now. That's what you're doing. I want to say, I thought there was overwhelming top secret evidence which the state was withholding until the trial began, my dear UNC fanatics. And the thing about it is withhold it from the public if you want. But why would you withhold it from the tribunal or withhold it from the lower court and the court of appeal? That's not making sense, people. You're taking people, I'm telling you, the government is taking people for fools, just like how the UNC did, the PNM did, for 9.5 years. I want to understand which trial you all talking about, though, when they're talking about, oh, leave it up to the courts. How you expect to end up having a trial if nobody was charged? You can't have a trial without charges being laid. My dear scholars in the UNC, you fanatics fail to realize that Roger is destroying the UNC day by day. Kamala always had a problem, so Kamala always had this love for using an SOE in order to fight crime. It seems though, seems as though since 2011, she fell in love with using an SOE, and ever since then, that's what she has been advocating for. We should have realized that, we should have realized that this woman has a problem with our constitution. It seems so. Because using an SOE to fight crime means that you want to continue to trample upon our constitution, Madam Prime Minister. Oh gosh, boy, I'm realizing more and more why the famous five wanted you to be removed as leader of the UNC, You really had good traits. I ain't lying to tell you that. In your earlier times, though, not really now. I'm not seeing any good traits from you right about now, Madam Prime Minister. You see, in your first term, you did mostly well. You really did. And when you were under Pandey's leadership, you were really a wonderful Minister of Education, and I think even a Minister of either Attorney General or Minister of National Security afterwards. I think it was Attorney General. Correct me if I'm wrong. Right? Nevertheless, you did some really good in the past. You were a wonderful Prime Minister in your first term. But no, madam, and this is why I'm saying Roger. Because it's since Roger and John Jeremy joined the UNC team, this woman has changed significantly. Whatever radical sorts of concepts she had in the past has now been reinforced by these two individuals. One is a former PNM, that is John Jeremy, and one has never shown support for the UNC in the past. So it begs the question, why did he join now? And why it is, since he has joined, UNC now performing more like the PNM than the traditional UNC. So don't come and tell me that Roger is just, he's just a puppet. He ain't no puppet. Roger is one of the main reasons why the UNC is falling apart. I want to say this to conclude. Let me explain this again in conclusion, people. Let me explain this again to both of you ignorant, or all of you ignorant and arrogant UNC fanatics. Evidence is required in order to charge a suspect with a crime, but does not prove guilt, because that's what they keep saying online. My friends, I can't remember their names right now, right? David Welch. I'm friends with him on Facebook, right? And Ricardo Ibrahim, right? These guys keep saying, it has no case yet to be able to prove guilt or innocence, and the appeals court never said that they were innocent. No, of course not. This is not about proving innocence or guilt, people. It's about you need evidence in order to start a trial. Then that evidence will be placed before a judge, placed before a jury to determine whether it is sufficient or valid in order to be able to prove innocence or guilt. But you cannot start a trial. You cannot even press charges without any sort of evidence, people. Everybody knows that. So when you send something to the DPP, you hear even the DPP to say, make it clear, even though I am saying to press charges against that person, it does not mean that they are guilty or that they are innocent. It's just that now we go to the next stage, which is to present this evidence in court. But if you have no evidence whatsoever, then you cannot even charge them. So therefore, you can't even go now to present a case in court. Do you understand, UNC people? I wanted to say, likewise, a PDO should only be signed if there is sufficient evidence to justify the imprisonment of any citizen in a country. Putting that aside, I think, just like Gary Griffith, this PDO law needs to change. Because we know the governments will never, ever, ever, ever follow this principle, which is that you should have credible evidence in order to detain a person with using a PDO. And the thing about it is, that's the reason why a PDO should be totally cancelled in the first place. Because you know why? A PDO, if it is you have credible evidence, you can charge the person. You will not need a PDO in order to detain a person for a long space of time, because you will have the sufficient evidence in order to charge them. And therefore, it will be left up to the judge to decide whether to grant that person bail or keep them behind bars. You understand? This whole PDO thing needs to stop. But I'm just saying for now, because they still have the PDO in place, make sure at least you have evidence, no man. I went on to say, the court's determination of innocence or guilt, you need evidence. You need evidence in order to be able for the courts to determine innocence or guilt. But to reach that stage, you need evidence, people. Stop allowing UNC to use propaganda and lame excuses to deceive you, my dear UNC people. We condemn the PNM for using these same lame tactics for 9.5 years. And yet that's the same nonsense guys like you, guys like David Welch, and my friend, or my other friend, my friend Ricardo. That's the kind of nonsense you all are using to defend what's taking place under Kamala's rule. That needs to stop completely. I can't believe that UNC people are now sounding even more extreme fanatics than PNM Patriots, the mighty Morphin Ghanaian coal pot bicycle whole strain. No harm, no macaroni pie. Tighten your belt, PNM Patriots, boy. I can't believe that.
Weather report for Friday, July 24, 2026, Trinidad and Tobago. The official weather forecast for Friday, July 24, 2026 in Trinidad and Tobago predicts variably cloudy, hazy, and breezy daytime conditions with scattered light to moderate showers transitioning to a mostly fair but hazy night. Maximum temperatures are expected to peak at 32 degrees Celsius in Piarco and 31 degrees Celsius in Crown Point, with a maximum heat index making it feel up to 34 degrees Celsius. Minimum temperatures are projected to drop to 24 degrees Celsius during the coolest hours of the night. Relative humidity will range between 70% to 95%. Winds will blow from the east to east-southeast at 5 to 40 km per hour, bringing breezy conditions at times. Sea states are slight to moderate in open waters, with waves reaching 1.0 meters to 1.5 meters, while sheltered areas will remain calm with waves below 1.0 meters. A mild to moderate concentration of Saharan dust is present in the atmosphere, so individuals with respiratory sensitivities or air quality issues should take standard medical precautions. There is a low to medium chance of isolated heavy showers or thunderstorms, most likely impacting western and southern regions of Trinidad during the afternoon, which could lead to localized gusty winds and street or flash flooding.
Regional news now. Students at R.M. Bailey Senior High School in Bahamas are set to benefit from a new gymnasium through a partnership between the Fox Foundation and the Ministry of Education. The announcement was made during a tour of schools by Minister of Education and Deputy Prime Minister Chester Cooper, who said the project is aimed at enhancing the school's athletic facilities and creating more opportunities for students' development. Keep them involved, yes, in positive extracurricular activities. And I hope you all do just like what I recommend here in Trinidad and Tobago. Have a lot more community centers throughout your various districts in the Bahamas. On your a lot of islands there, but nevertheless, get the youths involved in positive activities so that they will stay off the streets.
To construct a gymnasium on this property so that the students who are here and the ones who will come through here can have that facilities to improve their gym skills in the area of sports. And if you know Mr. Fox, you know that Mr. Fox is a giver. He's participated in a number of giveaways, but his passion really is to return to communities and institutions that would have helped to mold him.
We are working consistently through the details, but this partnership fundamentally will look like the Ministry of Education providing the land and the Fox Foundation building the gym. During my budget presentation, I called for partners for education. The harvest is plenteous, and we need the public to engage. We need alums of our public school system to get involved. And we are delighted that Mr. Fox and the Fox Foundation and Adriana Fox have stepped up to the plate, and they are prepared to invest in the future.
International news now. Former Florida Lieutenant Governor Jennifer Carroll has been nominated by President Donald Trump to serve as U.S. Ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago. Now that's good news. The country where she was born. Make us proud, madam. Make us proud. Don't be any blind Trump supporter, though. Carroll is a Navy veteran and trailblazing public servant who made history in 2010 as Florida's first black lieutenant governor and the first woman to hold the office. If confirmed by the Senate, she would become one of the highest ranking black women from Northeast Florida to represent the United States abroad. That's something to celebrate. You know about celebrating your own peoples and tribes and whatsoever? That is something to celebrate because she's a well-respected, conservative, African-American woman who stands up for good values, good traditional values. You all know I have a lot of issues with the conservatives as well. But nevertheless, I will always say I will always lean on the conservative side far more, a whole lot more than on the leftist. I will hold them accountable though, just like how I hold the UNC accountable here in Trinidad and Tobago. But the UNC ain't no conservative at all though. We don't have no conservative party here in Trinidad and Tobago. Rest assured about that. Qatar hails Dutch-Belgian ban on Israeli settlement products. Qatar welcomed the Netherlands and Belgium's ban on Israeli settlement products in a statement made on Wednesday, calling the move a crucial step toward deterring Israeli settlement policies. A bunch of jihadist-loving anti-Zionists and anti-Semites. That's what they are. The ministry reiterates the state of Qatar's ironclad and enduring position in support of the Palestinian cause and the brotherly Palestinian people. And that is who Trump is very close friends with, the Qatar people. The statement said calling for a two-state solution based on the 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as the Palestinian capital. God forbid. God forbid. Bible says that that whole portion of land belongs to the Jews, belongs to Israel. Jerusalem will never again be separated, people. Never again. The Qatari Foreign Ministry expressed hope that more countries would follow suit to compel Israel to halt its settlement policies in the occupied Palestinian authorities. Palestinian was never a state. It was never a nation. It was never an empire. It was never a kingdom. People, both history and the Bible verifies that Israel was a kingdom in the past. There was the kingdom of Israel, and then it split to the kingdom of Israel and Judah. Do you understand that? The Palestinian area, what they call Palestine, was known as Judea and Samaria. It was only in 135 AD, or 136 or 135 AD, Emperor Hadrian, the Roman Emperor Hadrian, renamed Judea and Samaria to Palestine. And it was only because of one reason. Listen to why. The Jews, not the Arabs, not the Palestinians, the Jews revolted against the Roman Empire. But they failed. It was a failed revolt. And as punishment, Hadrian swore to erase the name of Israel, erase the history of the Israeli people. And therefore he flattened Jerusalem. And he renamed that area as punishment, as a way to mock the Jewish people, Palestine, because of their ancient enemies, the Philistines. Do you understand? Go and check online. It's a historical fact. So Palestine never existed as a name of a place. In that place, it might have existed in small little communities. But of that place, it was Judea and Samaria, not Palestine, not West Bank. That was the name of that area, of that territory, up until 135 AD, when the Romans, with the Roman Emperor Hadrian, who used to consider themselves gods, that the Roman emperors used to consider themselves gods, decided to rename God's place of Israel to Palestine. You got it?
Bible quote of the day. Psalm 33, 4-6. The faithfulness of God's word in creation. For the word of the Lord is right and true, he is faithful in all he does. The Lord loves righteousness and justice, the earth is full of his unfailing love. By the word of the Lord the heavens were made, their starry host by the breath of his mouth.
Folks, that brings us to the end of today's news report. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe most of all. In Jesus' name.